Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. All praises are due to Allah, the Creator, the Cherisher, and the Sustainer of this universe. And may His peace and blessings be upon His noble Prophet Muhammad and his descendants and his companions and his followers. Dear respected brothers and sisters, tonight we are going to give the first of two lectures about the root causes of atheism and the remedies, how to avoid atheism if someone is afflicted by any of these root causes. Tonight actually is the root cause. It's long, quite long tonight, by the way. Yani at least 45 minutes or more. And I named the lecture Root Causes of Doubting Islam, not atheism actually. Whether it means to doubt the existence of God or to doubt the existence of religion. Some people believe that there is a God, there is a creator, but they don't believe that there are religions. They don't believe that there must be a religion. Or if it means doubting Islam itself as the right choice when it comes to choosing between religions. So all of these are actually doubting Islam. I preferred not to use the term atheism all the time for a reason. I personally believe, after 20 years of experience now of counseling people who left the religion, I believe wholeheartedly that most of them were not atheists. And I believe that very rarely when those who identify themselves as atheists are true atheists who do not believe in the existence of God. The word atheism is a camouflage. They use it to avoid the exact term that describes them. And the right term is mesotheists, not atheists. Mesotheism is a mixture of feelings between hate and anger. So it starts with maltheism. Maltheism is the belief that God is bad or evil. May Allah forgive me for saying these words, but I have to because I'm explaining this nasty topic actually. But I have to say it. So maltheism is the belief that God is evil. And it turns into mesotheism, the hatred towards God. May Allah forgive me for uttering such abominations. Usually people who are like that, by the way, are kind people. And they have a lot of love in their hearts to humanity. It's just that they hate to see suffering. They hate to see people dying in tsunamis, volcanoes, diseases, cancer, all natural disasters. So they feel that it is completely unjust that those people suffer like that and that they don't deserve it. But this in itself, natural disasters, people dying, has nothing to do philosophically with the existence of God or non-existence of God. It has to do with the character of God, the names of God, the attributes of God. Is He merciful or not? But not He exists or not. You understand what I mean? So philosophically, their reasons that makes them atheists logically should not make them atheists. It's not about the existence of God. It's about the character of God. I'll give you an example. I forgot the book at home. I just bought yesterday a book for a philosopher called Thomas Nagel. Thomas Nagel was maybe the most honest atheist I read for. He is a philosopher, the professor of philosophy in New York University. In page 130 of that book, listen what he wrote. He said, I want atheism to be true, and I'm made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It is not just that I don't believe in God and naturally hope that I am right in my belief. It is that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. This is so honest. I love this because it showed that it is something beyond reason and evidence. It's psychological. How can someone like that, biased like that, be fair in his research? The man, listen to what he's saying carefully. Listen carefully. He said, I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. Yani, even if the existence of God is the truth, he hates it. He hates what? The truth. Remember this. He hates the truth. Subhanallah. Listen to the Quran. Because I always wondered, how can the Quran ignore such a phenomenon? There isn't any ayah in the Quran that talks clearly about people who reject the existence of God. There isn't. But there are ayat that talk about people who hate God in the Quran. And I always wondered, how can the Quran ignore atheism? And then I discovered that because there is no atheism. It is mesotheism. It is the hatred of God. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ بِهِ جِنَّةً بَلْ جَاءَهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ لِلْحَقِّ كَارِهُونَ وَلَوْ اتَّبَعَ الْحَقُّ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ لَفَسَدَتِ السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهِنْ. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah number 70 and 71 says, or is that they do not recognize their messenger, so they disacknowledge him? Or do they say he is possessed? Rather, he has come to them with the truth, but most of them are hateful for the truth. Someone here can tell me, yeah, but when it says most of them are hateful for the truth, doesn't necessarily mean that they hate Allah. No. Listen to the context. Listen to the next verse. Next verse says, yet were the truth to follow their whims, the heavens and the earth and everyone in them would have become corrupted. Therefore, the truth here is who? Is Allah. Right or not? One of the names of Allah is what? Al-Haq, the truth. And the ayah says, they hated the truth and had the truth follow their whims, which means had Allah follow their whims, the heavens and the earth could have become corrupted. So the Quran addressed people who are mesotheists, who hate God. Surah Al-Zukhruf, the kuffar in hellfire, وَنَادَوْا يَا مَالِكُ لِيَقْضِ عَلَيْنَا رَبُّكَ. And they cried, O Malik, let your Lord finish us off. He said, you are staying. They spoke to Malik, the warden of hell, telling him, let your Lord finish us. We cannot stand the torture. He said, you are staying. We certainly came to you with the truth, but most of you are hateful of the truth. Therefore, the Quran addressed those who hate God, but subhanallah, when the Quran chose a name of God, with them he chose the truth, because they don't hate Allah ar-Rahman. The Quran didn't say, but you hated ar-Rahman, or you hated ar-Rahim, or you hated the most merciful, or the most, or the forgiving. No, no, no. They hated al-Haq. They hated the truth. Therefore, some people take the decision to depart the religion, then they start making excuses. Why did you leave the religion? Because the Prophet married Lady Aisha in a young age. Then you explain to them that she was an adult, and you explain to them the whole thing logically, but they still want to stay out. Why did you leave the religion? Because Islam has been spread by the sword. And then you explain to them that Islam protected itself by the sword. Islam never forced itself on anyone. And you prove this to them historically and logically, but they still want to stay out. Why did you leave Islam? Because Islam did not prohibit slavery clearly, like it prohibited wine gradually, but clearly at the end. Then you explain to them the relationship between slavery and racism, and how Islam dealt with the root cause, how Islam dealt with the disease, not with the symptom. But they still want to stay out. So it's because the decision has been taken. All these are false excuses. They took the decision to leave. So, the root causes can be a personal trauma, and I have 9 examples. The root causes can be philosophical, and I have 16 examples today. And the root causes can be shortcomings of tarbiyah, or upbringing the children, and I have 8 examples. So we are going to start the lecture now. We are going to start speaking about 33 root causes. And in the second lecture, inshallah, next week, we will speak about, or we will discuss together about how can we avoid doubts about the religion. I'm not calling it atheism anymore, khalas, okay? Doubts about religion in case of any of these root causes inflicts us or our children. How can we avoid them? Let's speak about the personal trauma. The biggest root cause and the most common is what is called the defective father-child relationship hypothesis. Defective relationship between the father and the child. I didn't say the parent, I said the father, the male figure. Dr. Paul Witz, he's a senior scholar at the Institute of Psychological Sciences in America, studied this thoroughly, and he wrote an amazing book called The Faith of the Fatherless. And he spoke about that actually very thoroughly. And this syndrome is of 2 types, the fatherless. Either because of a loss of the father in a young age, or because of a weak or abusive father. So it is the same syndrome. For example, Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche is a German philosopher and a writer, and his father died when he was 4. And his father was a Protestant minister. Paul Witz, Dr. Paul Witz said that the statement of Nietzsche, Nietzsche has a very famous statement, which is, God died. Dr. Paul Witz says that this is an example of the loss of the father syndrome. And he was actually releasing, my dad died. And you know who is the one who invented the character Superman? Nietzsche. Nietzsche invented the character Übermensch. Über means over, Mensch, man, the overman, the Superman. Why was that? It was trying to fill the vacuum left by his father's death. And you know, the father is a Superman for the little child. You know, he leaves in the morning, he comes back at night with money. My father is a Superman, he can do everything. And by time when the child starts to grow up, he starts to realize that his father is a normal person and he has normal abilities. But at the age of 4, when he died, his father was still a Superman. So when he invented the Superman. There is also the weak or abusive father syndrome. And a big example on this is the British philosopher Thomas Hobbes, who had a father who was an Anglican priest who used to sleep during his sermons, and people laugh. Yeah, imagine that I'm giving you a lesson now and then I go like this, and people laugh. Imagine that my son is with me and he sees this happening frequently. He will lose respect for me. And then what happened? His father fought with a parishioner or a church member, and they went outside the church in front of everybody and they had a fist fight. And then the man beat his father up and humiliated him to the extent that his father ran away and disappeared since then. And he abandoned his family. Hobbes was clearly an atheist, but also anti-clerical. So he was against all priests. He was against clergy. He had grudges in his heart towards the man who abandoned the family when he was young. Psychological. Nietzsche, psychological. Hobbes, psychological. Karl Marx, he made it clear that he has no respect for his father several times. He said it several times. Karl Marx did not respect his father mainly because his father converted from Judaism to Christianity, not because of any conviction, but to make life easier, for some materialistic gains, to decrease the suffering of discrimination against Jews and anti-Semitism, for convenience, yeah, to avoid anti-Semitism and stuff like that. So it was actually very damaging for the family. You know, Karl Marx is from a family of rabbis. All his father and his grandfathers and his uncles on both sides of the family were rabbis. And then his father converted to Christianity. Like that. And of course, Karl Marx, I don't need to tell you that he became the biggest advocate of materialism and communism and atheism. And he is the one who said the statement, religion is the opium of the peoples. That's Karl Marx, psychological. Sigmund Freud, Sigmund Freud himself said, nothing is more common than for a young person to lose their faith in God when they lose respect for his father. He himself said that, and he was one of those. Freud himself had the same syndrome, which is the weak father syndrome. His father was always humiliated and bullied by anti-Semites. He was also a Jew. So his father was bullied all the time by anti-Semites, and he never responds in front of his children. And this humiliation was frequently in the presence of the family. It had very negative impact. And his father married 3 women. He got 8 children from one and 2 from another one. Freud was born while his own brother was having a child. So his playmate who was playing with him and he grew up with him was actually his nephew, who was calling him uncle when they were young together. So there is a philosopher called, actually not a philosopher, but a British neurologist and psychoanalyst called Ernest Jones. He said that the status of being from a cluttered family affected the opinions of Sigmund Freud, which were so strange. He had so strange opinions, like referring everything to sex and desire. Even the baby being breastfed by his mother is because the baby is fulfilling this desire. And the mother also is happy because someone is fulfilling this desire for her. Strange opinions. And he said Freud was affected by this situation when he was young. And Freud never hid his atheism. He never hid being an atheist. But what will shock you is what his daughter said. Anna Freud, Sigmund Freud's daughter, explained that the only way to know her father is by not reading his books. She said, do you want to know my father? Don't read his biographies. Don't read his books. Read his letters to his family. So the man who was promoting atheism to the children of people, he was writing in his letters to his family, if someday we meet above, atheists don't speak like that. And he would say, my one quite secret prayer, atheists don't speak like that. She said he used to say, God willing, a lot, and by God's grace. So the one who was promoting atheism to the children of people was not doing that to his own children. That's Sigmund Freud. So that's the first cause. The loss of a family member or a loved one, it can also be one of the causes because it's traumatic, including the mother. So that's another cause. So losing the mother is very traumatic and it can cause atheism. But it is different from the father issue. The male figure is something else. Child abuse, especially sexual child abuse, can lead, by the way, to same-sex attraction and can lead to atheism and can lead to both and may not lead to anything, by the way. So not everyone who is who doesn't look right and left before crossing the street gets hit by a car. No. But everyone who was hit by a car did not look. You understand? So I don't want anyone to be troubled when I say child abuse and they say, oh my God, I was abused when I was a kid. Don't worry, not everyone who does not look right and left will be hit by a car. But everyone who was hit by a car did not look right and left. Spousal abuse. If, for example, the man abuses his wife, this may lead to the atheism of the children, or one of the children, not necessarily the spouse herself. Spousal disloyalty can lead to doubts about the religion and leaving the religion by the spouse. I had a case. A man was brought to me because he left Islam and became Christian. We dealt with him we have a very good film called Missionaries' Deception that worked with 97% of the cases that we had dealt with very properly, alhamdulillah, except the cases that had psychological issues, like this man. This man was actually, his wife did khula to him. So his wife divorced him, forced divorce on him, khula. So he felt bad because of that, and when he left Islam, he was actually retaliating against the system that allowed this to happen to him. It's not about finding the truth. I had also another case of a woman who became Christian. That was in Egypt. Why is that? She discovered after 20 years of marriage that her husband is having a secret wife. So she was shocked. And she is actually, by leaving the religion, is retaliating against the system that allowed this to happen to her. It's not about finding comfort or truth in Christianity or anything about Islam. It's about retaliating. So spousal also disloyalty. Abuse of by community leaders, like mosques mistreating women, mosques not allowing women to pray, not having prayer spaces, or having dirty prayer space for women. I know a mosque that doesn't have heating in the area of women, only men. And when I spoke to them, they said, because we don't have enough money. Okay, if you don't have enough money, then heat the women's section. If you are real men. Wallahi, I see people doing things here that nullify their manhood. Those people are not men. It's really, I can't understand how those people think. These things can lead to atheism. And then we ask ourselves, why many converts leave Islam? Ask yourself what they see. Actually, many of them became Muslim before seeing us. One of the causes of atheism is same-sex attracted people being mocked and ridiculed and laughed at, even if they don't practice it. So some people may have the inclinations, but they don't practice it, and they have taqwa, and they want to please Allah. But every single time they sit in the mosque, they hear, not every single time, but frequently they hear ridicule and mocking. It frustrates them. The sense of inferiority, like a disabled person who feels anger because he was denied health, so he retaliates by denying God's existence. So if anyone feels inferior, this feeling of inferiority can lead to atheism. Suffering from oppression, like refugees who wonder, where is God from the Syrian kids? Where is God from what's happening to the children of Syria? This can lead to atheism. Traumatic. It's traumatic. So this trauma can lead to atheism. Dysfunctional clerics. So whenever people have something is revealed about a cleric or a sheikh or an imam, you see people very shocked, and some women start to remove their hijabs, and some men stop going to the mosque. Were you worshipping Allah or the sheikh? So this is one of the things, because for them he was the role model. The answer or the question of what can we do in these cases, this is next week. Next week, inshallah, every one of these root causes, we tell you how to avoid falling in atheism because of that. What if many of these things happen all the time? And to our kids it happens. So what can we do? If a kid loses their father, what do we do to them in the family? Or if there is an abusive father, what do we do to them? And how do we talk to them? This is next week, inshallah. There is also root causes that are philosophical. Now we finished the traumatic root causes, or the root causes that were because of trauma. And we will start the root causes that are philosophical. So some people don't believe in anything that they cannot see, they cannot hear, they cannot touch. Anything that they cannot sense with their 5 senses does not exist for them. That's a philosophy. Some people believe that Islam contradicts with science. And the main topic is evolution. And the problem today is that evolution is the only accepted theory in academia. How can we deal with this? Inshallah, next week. And there is a very good lecture, not a lecture actually, it's a whole day, it's a conference, organized by an organization in Walthamstow. On the 20th of July, I received its poster recently. The organization called Fatima Elizabeth something. And they are organizing a whole day conference about evolution. And how can Muslims deal with this topic? The existence of evil is one of the most common causes of atheism. How can there be a God with all that evil in the world? 4, why didn't God create us all good? Why did God create us and he knows that some of us will go to hell? Is he enjoying sending us, some of us, to hell? Why couldn't God have created us all good? Isn't it? Definitely. So why didn't he do that? Inshallah, next week we'll speak about this. Is Islam the right way? Why is the Muslim Ummah so backward if Islam is the right way? Backward in everything. In politics, in economy, in education, in justice, even in cleanliness. Sorry. No offense, I'm one of you guys. Walk in Whitechapel and walk in Liverpool Street. These things cause atheism, I'm telling you. Relating Islam to the backwardness of Muslims. The authenticity of the Quran is also an issue that atheists use to throw doubts in the hearts of Muslims and the believers. And there's a very good approach to approach that. The authenticity of the Sunnah as well, which is our number 2 source of knowledge and legislation. And you find a lot actually of Muslims today who say, I'm not going to take except what's in the Quran. I'm not going to take what's in Al-Bukhari. How can Al-Bukhari collect all these hadith? So this is an issue that needs to be understood, and we need to know how to explain it, and how to understand it. The imagined discrimination against women, like why do they wear hijab but men don't? Why do they get a lesser share in inheritance, if this is true? Why couldn't they drive in Saudi Arabia? That was until last year. Why can't they vote in Saudi Arabia? Actually, no one votes in Saudi Arabia. Not men, not women. So all these things affect, and people look at Saudi Arabia as the what? The cradle of Islam. On Egyptian TV, one of the most famous journalists said Prophet Muhammad was Saudi. Some people believe that Prophet Muhammad was Saudi. Actually, Saudi Arabia was actually founded 100 years ago. Sharia and its severe prescribed punishments, cutting off hands. These things trouble people. How can this be a true religion? When someone who steals, we should cut off his hand? We should, instead of taking him to a prison and spend 10 years in the prison, learning other things, how to open safes, pickpocketing, anything. Free speech. The apostasy laws in some Muslim countries, like Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, all these things are used by atheists to promote atheism and speak against Islam. So the issue of free speech and apostasy. I'm telling you about the most famous things that are used to promote atheism. Gender segregation. Whenever Muslims have an event, women are here, men are there. Men are here, women are there. So this is an issue also that is always used. Hyper-literalism. And this is something that you see a lot in people who left Islam and they were from a Salafi background or very strict background, that they were literalists. There are some examples on this. There's Abdullah Samir and Ismail and those people who call themselves ex-Muslims or why I left Islam. Those are literalists. They use very famous hadith that when the Prophet Muhammad was with, I think, Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, and the sun set, so he asked him, do you know, Abu Dharr, where does the sun go when it sets? He said, where, O Prophet of Allah? He said, it goes and prostrates under the throne of Allah. So they use it. Say, see, Islam contradicts with science. Whenever the sun sets, it rises somewhere else, so the sun actually never sets. So Islam is because of their literalism. Literalism. We will explain this next time, inshallah. There are some young people who leave Islam to come back again. And those should be discovered if this happens. For example, someone may know about a famous writer like Mustafa Mahmoud, the Egyptian Mustafa Mahmoud, who became an atheist and then he searched and then he found that there is a God and then he searched in religions and then he became Muslim. So the experience itself is nice. So some people may see that someone leaving Islam and becoming a Muslim, but not an inherited Islam, not inherited from his parents. No, he became Muslim out of his own choice. So many people, many kids actually would love to go through this experience. So some of them start to identify themselves as atheists to come back. If we don't deal with them properly, they may always be outside Islam. So we need to know how to deal with them. Telling a kid like that, well, these thoughts does not make you an atheist. Still, you are not an atheist. As long as you keep telling him you are not still an atheist, he's not going to come back. Let him reach it and start coming back. But we need to speak about this, inshallah, next time. Suffering from oppression, like people who wonder, where is God from the children of Syria? You say, you said this before in the trauma. No. When I said it in the trauma, it was about those who suffered themselves. But when I say it here in the category of philosophy, it means that someone can be British and leave Islam when he sees Syrians suffering like that. So here is philosophical. Here it's not about trauma, not about suffering yourself from it. No, it's about seeing others suffering like that and feeling bad for them, feeling that they do not deserve that. Post-revolution's freedom atmosphere. So after the revolution, Arab Spring, the revolution against Mubarak, whatever, there is an atmosphere of freedom. And the clergy, before the revolution, was used by the government, by the oppressors, to control people. Like, for example, the Grand Mufti of Egypt, at the time of Mubarak, issued a fatwa that it is haram to boycott the presidential or the parliamentarian elections. That was to neutralize the call of the opposition to boycott the elections, because it's rigged elections at the time of Mubarak. So he used the clergy, the Muslim clergy, to control people by issuing fatwas like that. So after the revolution, you would see some people leaving even Islam. So the problem is not in the revolution itself. It's still in the defective clergy and so on. Like that, we finished the root causes of philosophical root causes, and now we will deal quickly with the last 8 root causes, which are tarbiyah or upbringing root causes. One of the worst is the infallible child. The child is 1 year old, and he starts walking, and then he stumbles in the carpet. So his mom says, "Oh, bad carpet. You made Ahmed fall." And then he bumps his head into the table. So they tell him, bad table. You made Ahmed, you bumped Ahmed's head. So Ahmed grows up feeling infallible. He doesn't do any mistakes. Any hardship, anything wrong must be from outside, not his mistake. He grows up and then he starts having some stress, like when he's 12 or 13, some stress because of the finals. He has to study a lot because he has finals. He's not happy. There's a lot of stress. Who is responsible for that? He starts throwing the blame on Allah because he doesn't find anyone responsible. Definitely not the table, definitely not the rug, definitely not his parents. Who then? This is completely against the tarbiyah of the Quran that tells us ما أصابكم من مصيبة فبما كسبت أيديكم ويعفو عن كثير. Any calamity that befalls you is the outcome of your own handiwork. That's the opposite of the Quran. So we are corrupting our own children. Believe me, some children, if they grow up orphans, would be better for them than having those parents. I know that many of you are worried now. But inshallah, khair. There are things to do now that we can avoid that, inshallah. The lack of the critical thinking. Some kids just believe anything told to them. Well, he goes to school, he loves his chemistry teacher, and because of that, he loves chemistry. And then the chemistry teacher tells him, I don't believe in God, I believe in science. It's like a knife in his heart. He loves that teacher. The teacher cannot be wrong. How can we deal with this? We have this a lot now. A lot of the teachers are atheists. And our kids listen to them every day and they love them and they learn from them. How can we deal with this? Homeschooling cannot be the solution. How can we deal with it? How can I teach the kid to think critically, not to buy everything he hears? The focus on the scenario of fear alone. I hear this a lot in the UK. People always say, if you do this, you go to hell. If you do this, you go to hell. If you do this, you go to hell. I've seen Muslims here who grew up, they don't even know that God rewards by Jannah. They don't know it. They were always scared of nar, fire, hell, fire. This is not good. We will talk next time about that and how can we deal with this. There is the spoiled child who gets everything he wants. He wants an Xbox, he gets an Xbox. He wants to go to the park, he goes to the park. He wants that shirt, he gets that shirt. Anything he wants, he gets. And then when he grows up, he's shocked that life is not like that. Actually, in life is the opposite. It's most of what he wants, he can't get. So why did we upbring him like that? Why didn't we prepare him for the real life? So one of the root causes is to avoid the pangs of mind conscious when desires are unleashed. Some people cannot control their desires, and their desires are unleashed, so they fornicate, they drink, they go do this and do that, but they don't like to feel the pain of their mind conscious. So instead of stopping committing the crime, they just remove the law. Have you seen the film The Purge? In America, they wanted, it's a film that, imaginary yani, that they wanted to deal with crime. So because they can't deal with crime, they just removed the law. So everything became okay. Like that, there is no crimes. Killing became legal, stealing became legal, rape became legal, like that. Actually, it's true, no crimes. So instead of stopping the crime, they remove the law. Some people become atheists because of that. They don't want to feel that they're doing something haram, haram, haram. Okay, leave the religion. Like that, he's not doing haram. There is al-ightiraru bil-ma'rifa, or vanity, the feeling of vanity of people who think themselves knowledgeable. Some people are deceived because they read few books and made masters in this and made a PhD in this. So they become arrogant. This arrogance and this vanity leads to atheism. They think that they can judge everything. He reads an ayah in the Quran. No, this ayah is not right. This ayah actually contradicts this. And they start feeling this arrogance. Seeking attention and fame. And that's a lot. If you say La ilaha illallah, that's normal and you're not going to be famous. But if you say La ilah only, there is no God, you will become famous. You can get space on TV. Your videos will be flying on YouTube. And you may get a political asylum if you are from Pakistan. See? So that's the problem. Seeking gains. There is the personality disorder. And like some people call the borderline personality disorder. It's some people are hot-headed, or people who are unstable and moody. So today he identifies himself as an atheist. You sit with him for a while, he is convinced. Next day he starts reading the Bible because he's considering Christianity. You sit with him, you show him missionaries deception video. He is next day pro-Trump. You sit with him and you tell him you can do that. He's next day pro-Israel. Next day he's anti-Semitic. It's just moody. And this case actually feels joy by doing that because they feel that they are playing a game of chess against their parents, intimidating them all the time like that. And it is not about finding the truth. It's just feeling joy inside by doing that. And many of those actually are ex-autistic children. So it's like 3 times more than in the probability of having atheists among ex-autistic or autistic children is like 3 times more the probability of other people who don't have autism. And it's because they have weak social skills. So they do not have a good realization of the pain that they cause for their parents and their loved ones every time they speak like that. They just throw a word and their parents don't sleep for 3 months. You understand? So this weak social skills. Like that, we finished, alhamdulillah, today's lecture. We mentioned 33 root causes of doubting religion, whether atheism or doubting Islam itself or anything. So next time, inshallah, we will deal with the remedies and what can we do in these cases of, or if any of these root causes afflict us or our children. Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu feekum. All praises are due to Allah, the Creator, the Cherisher, and the Sustainer of this universe. And may His peace and blessings be upon His noble Prophet Muhammad and his descendants and his companions and his followers. Dear respected followers of Prophet Muhammad, may Allah bless you. Today we are going to continue what we started last time. And today's lecture is quite long, actually. Last time it was about the causes, the root causes of atheism. And this time it will be about the remedies. Because these root causes, which I will not repeat again today, except one by one when I'm refuting them, but I'm not going to say them all to save time, actually. So if you want to actually benefit a lot from this lecture, and you did not watch the one before, then you really need to watch the one before. It's on YouTube under the title, The Root Causes of Atheism, on Bridges Foundation channel, okay? Bridges Foundation. This is not the petrol station I work for. This is Bridges Foundation, my organization. Anyway, so we said last time that people say atheism for what is, in most cases, mesotheism, not atheism, which is the, may Allah forgive me for saying such, actually, abominations, but that's how it is. It's about hating God. Mesotheism means the hatred of God. And I spoke last time, and I told you what Dr. Thomas Nagel mentioned in this book, The Last Word, in page 130, when he said, I want atheism to be true, and I'm made uneasy by the fact that some of the most intelligent and well-informed people I know are religious believers. It is not just that I don't believe in God and naturally hope that I am right in my belief. It is that I hope there is no God. I don't want there to be a God. I don't want the universe to be like that. See how honest? It's something beyond reason, beyond evidence. It's psychological. And I spoke a lot last time from this book, The Faith of the Fatherless, of Dr. Paul Witz. Dr. Paul Witz studied the staunch atheists and spoke about their experiences with their fathers, like Sigmund Freud, Nietzsche, Thomas Hobbes, Karl Marx, all of those. And we spoke about that last time. And then last time I mentioned the root causes of atheism that we have collected in Bridges Foundation from our work with young people who left religion and from the work of other institutions like Yaqeen Institute in America and like the books of Dr. Amr Sharif and others. And I mentioned that they are mainly of three categories. There are personal trauma causes, and there are philosophical causes, and there are also tarbiyah and upbringing reasons. I only added this time one cause to the causes that I mentioned last time, and it is in the category of philosophical causes, and one of these causes is the ignorance about God. When people don't know the names and attributes of God. So that's one of the causes that I forgot to mention last time. Let's start, inshallah, directly to the remedies, because actually these causes that can cause doubting the religion. And last time, if you remember, I said, it's not about atheism or mesotheism. It's about any doubt in religion. So if someone doubts the religion and still believes that there is a God, that's not still okay for us. If someone doubts that Islam is the right religion That's still not okay for us. So any doubt in religion is what I am dealing with, not just atheism. So let's talk about that, because these root causes are around us everywhere. And many of us and most of our kids are subjected to such causes. So what can we do in order to avoid them, these doubts in religion? First of all, we need to know that atheism or mesotheism or rejecting religion, all of these are products of the materialistic civilization. And this materialistic civilization has failed, actually. It failed to establish peace. Actually, it led the world into disastrous wars. It led humanity into disastrous wars. And it reduced the human being into a machine that produces productivity and a consumer who consumes, consumerism, and a being that fulfills his desires. So the human being was reduced into these three things: production, consumerism, and fulfillment of desires. So naturally, the spiritual element vanished from this civilization itself. The materialistic civilization in itself is also a product of the materialistic mind. And the materialistic mind has no regard for morals, just interests, but no morals. It has no regard for purity, just fulfillment of desires. And therefore, this materialistic mind cannot answer the main existentialist questions, the questions of our existence, which are who, what, when. Who, what, when. If we teach our children how to answer these questions, if these questions are answered, children will avoid any doubt in religion. Who am I? What are my tasks? What are my tools that I have to achieve these tasks? What do I expect? And when can I expect it? These are the main existentialist questions. These questions tell us the purpose of our life and what are we going to do, or what will happen to us after death. Atheism does what? It just throws doubt in the Muslim's heart, but it gives no alternatives. And I gave this example before, and I will give it again. Imagine that someone opens his eyes to find himself wearing a yellow vest and carrying a bag in his hand in the middle of a soccer field, a football field, where 22 players are wearing t-shirts and shorts and playing football. Definitely, he would be so confused. Who is he? What is he doing here? And so on. But if he finds a note in his pocket, and in it he reads, "You are a medic. You are specialized in sports medicine." That's his job. His job description. The tasks are, if any footballer falls down injured, you have to run quickly into the field and tend to him. So this is the tasks. In the bag in your hand, you have the following tools: a gauge to measure blood pressure, a gauge to measure, eye pressure, bandages, things, cotton, and so on, things to tend to the injured players. So now he knows the list of tools that he has with him that allow him to achieve his task. Okay, what can he expect? Compensation. 2,000 pounds. When? After the match. Who, what, and when? Who am I? What are my tasks? What tools do I have to achieve the tasks? And what can I expect and when after the match? Atheism comes and tells this guy, don't believe the note, it's fabricated. Okay. You don't know nothing about medicine. The tools in the bag are not enough. What else? No one after the match got 2,000 pounds and came to tell us. Okay, Mr. Atheism, what if I believe you? Can you give me the answers to these questions? Who am I? Silence. Atheism doesn't give answers, doesn't tell you who you are, doesn't tell you what the purpose of your life, doesn't tell you which tools do you have to achieve the tasks, and doesn't tell you what happens to you after death. Doesn't tell you anything. So that's why atheism just throws doubt in the hearts of people and leave them confused. That's why those people who become atheists, especially from a Muslim background, they are never stable, they are never comfortable. Why? Because they are confused. They become confused. It's like someone lost in a foreign city without a GPS and no one understands his language and no one is helping him. Lost. So how to avoid doubting Islam in case one is subjected to one or more of these causes? Number one, as we said, understanding the existentialist questions. Who am I? Read the Quran. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. And remember when your Lord told the angels, indeed I am making on earth a khalifa, a boss. Someone who will be the boss of this world. So your job is the khalifa, the boss. Okay, what is my job description? What are my tasks as the boss? The one who gave me this water, I told him what? Thank you. If he brought me even tap water, which costs him nothing, I have to say thank you. How about the one who gave me health and wealth and children and my everything? He's taking care of everything. Doesn't he deserve appreciation? So the first task of the Khalifa is to worship. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Indeed, I have not created the jinn or the humans except to worship me. Because God deserves gratitude, deserves our love, and deserves our respect. These three things are the essence of ibadah. What else? ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Call to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good speech. Therefore, da'wah is among my tasks. Number one, to worship. Number two, to call people to Allah. 3, هو أنشأكم من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. It is He who created you from the earth, and it is He who commanded you to develop it. استعمر. Alif sin ta plus the verb in Arabic means asking the verb. استغفر, asking مغفرة. استخرج, asking obtaining, إخراج. استعمر, asking إعمار. So when Allah استعمركم, it means Allah commanded you to develop the earth, not destroy the earth. What else? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Hadid, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لام التعليل ليقوم الناس بالقسط. Indeed, most surely we have sent our messengers. Muhammad, Isa, Musa, Ibrahim, all of those are messengers. بالبينات, with clear signs, miracles. وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب, and we sent down with them the books, the Quran and the Torah and the Injil. والميزان, the balance of knowing right from wrong, the Sunnah of every prophet. For the Prophet Muhammad we know the Hadith, the Sunnah. For Musa it's called the Furqan. So Allah sent all the messengers and all the books ليقوم الناس بالقسط, so that people may stand forth in justice. So this religion is the religion of justice. So the four main tasks of the Khalifa, the boss, whom Allah appointed on earth, the human being, is to worship, to call to God, and to establish justice and to develop the earth. But do we have tools that allow us to do that? Yes, of course. Read the story. Read your story. Which story is your story in the Quran? It is the story of Adam. When Allah says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, and indeed we have created you all. خَلَقْنَاكُمْ. ثُمَّ, then صَوَّرْنَاكُمْ, and then we fashioned you all. ثُمَّ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ, and then we told the angels, prostrate for Adam. Adam in the Quran represents every one of us. He is our representative, actually. Allah made the angels prostrate for him. This is the first tool you have. The prostration of the angels is one of your tools to develop the earth and to worship Allah and to establish justice. What does that mean? What can we do with the prostration of the angels that happened millions of years ago? A lot. Who are the angels? The angels are agents that are doing things. There's an angel who is responsible for the mountains, an angel responsible for the clouds, an angel responsible for rain. So those angels, when they prostrate, this represents that Allah subjected the universe for you as the Khalifa in order to achieve your tasks. You cannot come on Judgment Day and say, God, I did not worship you. Why? Because the weather was not good enough. No, you can't say that. The angels prostrated. You can't say, I did not establish justice because the weather was not good. No, you can't. Allah سَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. Allah has subjected to you everything on earth so that you can achieve the tasks. So number one is Jad al-Malaika. It is a signal, a sign of Taskhir al-Kun, that the universe is subjected to us. The nature is subjected to us. أَلَمْ تَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ سَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah says, asking us, have you not seen that Allah has subjected to you everything in the heavens and in the earth? What else among the tools we have in the bag? Al-Qudra ala al-Ta'allum, the ability to learn. We are superior than the angels themselves in the ability to learn. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, and he taught Adam all the names, and then he presented them to the angels and said, tell me the names, these names. They said, سُبْحَانَكَ لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا. They said, glory be unto you, we only know what you taught us. So Allah made Adam tell them the names, which means that Adam had the ability to learn in a way even superior than the angels. This is a big gap between the human being and any other creature. Which creature is the closest to us? chimpanzees, look at the difference between us. Not even one chimpanzee cooks his food yet. If you bring fire and meat, the chimpanzee will not put the meat on the fire. He'll just eat it. We are the ones who learn. Have you ever seen a group of chimpanzees removing a forest and building a civilization? You will never see that. Why? Because we are chosen as the Khalifa. The third tool in the bag that allows us to achieve the tasks is what? Freedom of choice and the ability to take a decision. We have the freedom of choice and we are decision makers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah even allowed us to have to make choices against His will. Halal and haram. Some people do haram. That means that they chose to do something against the will of Allah. And they did it. Allah doesn't prevent it. Allah allows this to happen because this is one of the aspects of the human being, that he has freedom of choice. Allah says, تُرِيدُونَ عَرَضَ الدُّنْيَا وَاللَّهُ يُرِيدُ الْآخِرَةِ. In Surah Al-Anfal, you desire the materials of this world, but Allah desires the hereafter, which means we can desire things even against the will of Allah. Subhanallah. Against the will of Allah. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. Allah says, so as for the one who has given and has been mindful of God and has believed in ultimate goodness, we will ease his way towards ease. But as for the one who has been stingy and complacent and has believed in ultimate goodness, we will ease his way towards difficulty and has disbelieved in ultimate goodness. So here it means that we can take decisions even against the will of Allah. Against the desire of Allah, not the will of Allah. Against what Allah wants even. So this is one of the tools of the Khalifa, that he can take a decision and can choose between right and wrong. And can do right and can do wrong too. In this, in understanding this, of course, we need to know, what do we expect from Allah if we do these things? To live happily? No. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Some people do these things and they face difficulties. They face difficulties. We have learned the story of Ashab al-Ukhdud, believers who died in fire. And the criminal, the king, nothing happened to him. So what do we expect from Allah in return? To be pleased with us and to allow us to go to Jannah on Judgment Day. 2,000 pounds? When? After the match, not during the match. Definitely, Allah can give many of us happiness. But happiness is not in fulfilling desires. Happiness is in actually fulfilling what Allah wants from you. This in itself, what I just said now, answers a lot of the questions and actually avoids a lot of the causes of atheism, like the existence of evil. We said among the causes of atheism is, how can there be a God with all that evil? This just answered, because here we are not in a place to be rewarded. We are here in a place to be tested. So this evil that happens, volcanoes, tsunamis, cancer, whatever, is to test us, to test our patience. Why didn't God create us all good? You remember that? We said last time, someone can ask, why didn't God create us all good? Does he want to send some of us to hell? Does it please him to send some people to hell? Create us all good? All good like who? Like donkeys. Donkeys are all good. All donkeys are good. Have you seen a donkey actually attacking another animal, like dogs, like lions. No, donkeys are so kind and so good and so helpful. So when someone asks you, why didn't God create us all good? Say like donkeys. What is the difference between us and donkeys? We have freedom of choice. Donkeys don't have freedom of choice. So they are all good. We have freedom of choice. Therefore, it's expected that some of us will choose to do the wrong things. That's it. That's it. So if you want us all to be good, then you are taking from us the ability to choose. And that's one of the main aspects of a human being. Main elements is to be able to choose between right and wrong. Therefore, some of us will do wrong. This will also answer the root cause, which we call the sense of inferiority. When people feel they are inferior, when people are disabled and stuff like that, from this they understand that it's a test. They have to pass the test and be rewarded later. So this also answers people who become atheists because of suffering from oppression. Like refugees. Someone was living properly, he had a car, he had a nice house, he had 5 kids and had a wife and everything, and then suddenly half of his family die, get killed actually by a tyrant like Bashar or Sisi or something, and then he and the rest of the family, they scatter all over the world and they are refugees and they are living on pension from this government or that government. So depressing, believe me. It's a test. It's a test. So, I want to tell you something. Among the reasons are also the loss of loved ones. When someone loses a loved one. Losing a loved one is not a sign of a curse from God at all. Losing a family member or a loved one is not a sign of a curse from God. It's actually, number one, we need to tell our children that we are here to be tested, not to be rewarded. Second, death is not the end. Death is the beginning of another life. A life without death. Losing loved ones is not a sign of anger of God or a curse. God gives hard tests to whom He loves in order to give them the chance to prove their love for Allah and their acceptance. Losing a child is hard, definitely. How about losing 2 children? Don't you think it's hard? Very hard. How about losing 3 children? Don't you think it's harder? Of course, very hard. How about losing 4 children? How about losing 5 children? How about losing 6 children? Do you know someone who lost 6 children? Prophet Muhammad. And this really astonishing when you ask Muslims, Prophet Muhammad lost 6 children, they tell you, no. The seerah says he lost his son Ibrahim, and when he buried him, he cried. The seerah tells us that the Prophet ﷺ had 7 children. And before his death, there was only Fatima. Right? It means that the Prophet ﷺ lost 6 children. 3 of them are brides who died after getting married, and 2 of them had children, Zainab and Ruqayya. And they died and they left orphans. Can you imagine someone losing 6 children? 3 of them are women who got married and even gave birth. Why didn't we feel it when we read the seerah? Because it is not, when we read it, we are not reading the seerah of a depressed man. We are reading the seerah of a person who was so content and pleased with whatever Allah does. Subhanallah. This is our Prophet. The question is how to help the loved one that died. This is what we need, the child who lost a loved one, like a mother, like someone, to focus upon how can we help Geddu right now? How can we help grandpa who just died or your mom who just died? Should we? The Prophet ﷺ said that when someone dies, all his deeds are cut and he doesn't get rewarded except for three things. وَلَدٌ صَالِحْ يَدْعُو لَهُ, a righteous child who makes dua for him. So be righteous and make dua for grandpa or for mama. This is how you help her. This is what we need the child to focus upon, instead of like directing his anger to God because he took his grandpa. No, help grandpa. Make dua for grandpa. And the Prophet said, عِلْمٌ يُنْتَفَعُ بِهِ. If your grandfather wrote a book, publish it, distribute it, left some videos on the internet saying something good, make a page for it and distribute it here and there and put it on WhatsApp and put it on Facebook. And he made some sadaqah, make sadaqah and make dua that Allah accepts it on his behalf. This is what we should do. Now, there is the defective father-child relationship hypothesis. This is one of the main root causes of atheism. The faith of the fatherless, those who lost their fathers. Well, this hypothesis has two issues. The loss of the father syndrome, loss of the father by death or immigration or incarceration. Whether the father is innocent or a criminal, but still, if he's incarcerated, then his children lost their father. Or the weak or abusive father syndrome, like a father who beats up the kids or beats up their mother, or a drug addict or an alcoholic, or a father that is weak, which means he can be bullied in front of his family and he doesn't respond. He doesn't show any signs of manhood. So he loses respect in the eyes of his family. Like Thomas Hobbes. Last time we mentioned several examples, like Sigmund Freud was like that. Karl Marx was like that. His father was a Jew who accepted Christianity just to make life easier and avoid anti-Semitic bullying. So he lost respect in the eyes of his children, like Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud. Nietzsche just lost his father when he was 4. The solution is in having the good father or finding a substitute father. As a father, you need to be there. If you're not at work, be at home. You have the right to go out with your friends once every month, but not every day, not even every week. You need to sit with your children. You need to be doing something good with them. You need to read with them. You need to solve problems with them. You need to do carpentry with them. You need to spend quality time with them. What does quality time mean? It means time where you don't act like a father. You're just playing with them, anything. But you don't preach. Just spend quality time. Let them feel that you're one of their friends. Take them out once every week. As a father, you should also love their mother and show them that you love their mother, because this feeling of affection gives them the sense of unity. So the kid will not want to be different from the family in order not to disunite the family or depart the family. Show affection to their mother in front of the kids. Let the kids feel that you love them. Take Prophet Muhammad as an example. He used to kiss his kids. He used to kiss his children, grandchildren. He used to play with them. He used to wait outside his house when he knew that Fatima is coming to visit him. He couldn't even wait inside the house. And he hugs her and he kisses her on the head. If we have the father missed in the family by death, incarceration, traveled, or the father is a bad father, a drug addict or something, so he's still missed, we need to find a substitute father for the kids. An uncle, a grandfather, even the stepfather. Someone must take that role and fill up the vacuum in the life of the kids, the vacuum of the father. He has to be a male person. He has to be a man. Here he didn't say the faith of the parentless. He said of the fatherless, especially fathers. It's not like the loss of the mother. The loss of the mother is traumatic, but it is in another category, the loss of a loved one, which we spoke about. Here, the father especially should be substituted by a male figure. Because when children sometimes always relate the male authority on earth to the God's authority in the heaven, which is wrong. But this is in their imagination. That's why we need always to be speaking that and telling them that God is neither male nor female. We have to insist on this and say it frequently to our kids. God is neither male nor female. But also with the kids, and in the Bridges new workshop, which we are doing right now for kids, we are filming now kids, a workshop, videos for kids, to avoid them atheism. We are trying to substitute this by drawing the picture of the perfect father in the personality of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the perfect father. Number one, there is a link between him and the kids who lost their father, because he himself lost his father. And he was an orphan. And then he was brought up by his grandfather, whom he also lost in a young age. And this made him what? Look for the mercy and love with God. So like that, when we're teaching the kids this, they will find that there is a link, there is something common between them and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we show them how a perfect father he was. He used to crawl on his knees and put his children on his back like a camel, as if he's a camel. We need also to remind them that the same thing was with Ibrahim. Prophet Ibrahim was an orphan, and he was brought up by his uncle, whom he called dad, but he wasn't his dad. And he had a conflict with him, and still he kept his faith in Allah and searched for the missing mercy, the mercy and love that he was missing. He found them with Allah. Also, among the causes of atheism is spousal abuse. If someone abuses his spouse or her spouse, it can affect the children. By the way, I have a case where the woman used to beat up the man, and she was much bigger than him. And this caused some of the kids to leave Islam and become troubled. And of course, the most common is domestic violence from men towards their women. It can cause not the woman to leave Islam, the kids to leave Islam. It's troubling. So never argue in front of your kids, in the presence of the kids. Enter your room, turn on something, and speak to each other. Don't let the kids feel that you're arguing. I know some people fight and swear at each other in front of their kids. This is so bad. Among the root causes of atheism also is spousal disloyalty. Any disloyalty, even legal disloyalty, like khul'a, for example. I had a case of a man who left Islam and became Christian. This is a very easy case with us. He comes, we have a video called Missionaries' Deception on our YouTube channel. By the way, you can find it. missionary deception. Anyone who watches it, he leaves Christianity and comes back to Islam. This man, it didn't work with him. So I said, this man has a psychological reason. And then I found that his wife made khula to him. So he felt humiliated. So he's retaliating against the system itself that allowed that. In Christianity, there is no divorce even. Christians can't divorce each other. By the way, you know that or not? If it happens here, that because it's not a Christian country, come to Egypt and see what Christians are suffering. Because if they get married, there's no way out. Except in case of adultery. The church doesn't allow it except in that. So when he accepted Christianity because it's a system that doesn't allow this to happen to him. I have another case of a woman who also became Christian, and we showed her missionary's deception. It didn't work with her. I said, guys, this is psychological, and tell me what happened to her. And then she found that her husband, whom she loved so much, was actually having a secret marriage for 10 years, and she didn't know. He was always telling her, I'm going to Hurghada because I have work there, but he was with the other wife. So these type of things, when they happen, it actually shocks, it's traumatic. Also, some people leave the religion to avoid the pangs of the mind conscious when their desires are unleashed. Some people can't live without fornication, drinking. So instead of refraining from these crimes, they just remove the law. So they can do these things without any pains in their heart that they are doing anything wrong. I told you last time about the film The Purge. The Purge is a film, American film, imaginary. They imagine that because there's a lot of crime, instead of law breaking, instead of removing the crime, they remove the law. So they allowed crime. Like that, law is not broken. They allowed killing, theft, and rape. That's what atheists do sometimes. They just remove the law, and then they do whatever they want. The solution to this is what? Don't tell me to raise people who don't do that. That's definitely yes. But what if this happens? I need the Muslim to know that there is a concept called tawbah, repentance, and that Allah, inna Allah yuhibbu tawabina wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. Allah loves those who frequently repent and frequently purify themselves, so that leaving the religion is not an option at all, even if he is a sinful person. But leaving the religion is not an option. Okay? Some people seek fame and seek attention. Because if you say La ilaha illallah, there is nothing new in this. So you won't be famous because you said La ilaha illallah. But if you say La ilah, oh, you can become famous. You can be invited to speak in conferences. You say, oh, ex-Muslims, whatever.org, ex-Muslims.com, ex-Muslim.whatever. So what we need to do is, we should not give them platforms. We should only discuss with people who leave the religion, but not in public. And we should not debate except their leaders who are already famous. But we should not make kufr a way that makes people famous. So not everyone who's an atheist or an ex-Muslim, we bring him and we give him a microphone and we let him speak and we debate him. That's not good. That's not good. Don't debate with them. Only with their heads who are already famous. Done. Prohibition of premarital sexual relationships. Many kids say that. There's a lot of prohibitions. Why are you prohibiting us from premarital sex? They taught us in school that we can use contraceptions that protect us from diseases and prevent pregnancy. Kids have to understand that Allah, who created us, knows what's good for us and what's bad for us. And I give them an example. alcohol, alcoholism. How many households did it damage? How many families did it destroy? Gambling and addiction to gambling. How many families did it destroy? Millions. Gambling and alcohol destroyed a lot of families, right? Okay, why is it legal then? Why all governments allow it? Though it's harmful. And everyone knows that it destroys families. It destroys families. Why is it allowed? Because there's a lot of business in this, a lot of money in this. So governments compromise the interests of their subjects for money and for business, for economy. God does not compromise. God did not disallow us from anything, did not prohibit anything good from us. I watched an episode, a TV show of someone, a psychiatrist in America called Dr. Phil, a very famous psychiatrist. And his show was titled, Our Sex Life Sucks. And he brought couples who had a very bad sexual relationship. It's not working. And what he found in common is that most of them had a lot of premarital relationships. So I remember one of them, he told her, so before this husband, how many boyfriends did you have a sexual relationship with? She said, probably 11. He said, if you rank your husband, how do you rank him? She said, I'll give him number 7 or 8. He said, okay, so every time you're with him in bed, you can be thinking about 7 other people or 6? She said, yeah. How can this life work? What Islam wants is that you don't know except your wife, and your wife don't know except you. And you be pleased with this, and she's pleased with you. Done. Allah, who created the male and the female, is the one who knows what's good for the male and what's good for the female. Among the causes of is, if Islam is the right way, why is the Muslim Ummah so backward? Yeah, we're backward in everything. Politics, economy, education, justice, even cleanliness. What we need to do here is when we teach our kids, we need to teach them a lot about the golden age of Muslims, when Muslims were the pioneers in every branch of science, and link this with the real practice and a real understanding of the religion. And we link the decline with when Muslims started to take religion superficially. But what I see sometimes is some people saying that, well, Ibn Sina was an atheist, and Al-Jazari was an atheist. What are you saying? Atheists say scientists were atheists. So are you giving them this gift? If, for example, Al-Jazari, there are 2 opinions about him. Why are you taking the one that say that he's atheist? Why are you taking it? Why are you giving them this gift? If the man himself had a book called Inna lil kawni khaliqa, indeed, for the universe there is a creator. How come you call him an atheist? Yeah, but Al-Bayruni said so about him. I don't care. Even Einstein. I've seen a Muslim scholar lately making a lecture proving that Einstein was atheist. Why? What are you going to benefit from this? The message to the children is what? That most genius scientists were atheists. If there is another argument that say that Einstein believed in God, take it, ya akhi. Subhanallah. You understand me? This is the problem. Sometimes we are like shooting ourselves in the feet before a running race. And then you want to race? Why are you doing this? We have to think before we speak. There is the dysfunctional clergy. That's a problem. In every religion, some people who are like sheikhs, imams, clergy in Christianity, Judaism, they are human beings. Some things are exposed. And then people start to remove hijab, stop praying. What's that? Were you worshipping the sheikh or worshipping Allah? So kids need to know that Our role model is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's it. Sheikhs and imams and scholars should be treated like lawyers and doctors. We go to them, we ask them questions, we learn from them their knowledge, but we have to know that they are human beings. They have their own shortcomings. They have their own personal life. They should be respected, but that's it. Not taken as role models. Believe me, I have a video about that called, Should We Become Fans of Scholars and Imams? This is wrong. We don't be a fan of anyone. Only Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The infallible kid. The kid who when he starts walking and then he bumps his head into the table, his mother goes like, bad table, you hit Ahmed. And then when he falls, he stumbles in the rug, they go, bad carpet. You made Ahmed stumble and fall. So Ahmed grows up infallible. He doesn't do mistakes. And any hardship is coming from outside. So when he becomes 12 or 13 with a little bit of stress, like stress for final exams or something, he starts to feel like, I'm not feeling good. Who's responsible for this now? You understand? And then he starts pointing at Allah and says, Allah is responsible for the hard time I'm having. This is exactly the opposite of the tarbiyah of the Quran. The Quran says, مَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. No calamity befalls you except if it's an outcome of your own handiwork. So we need to tell the kid when he stumbles and falls, we tell him, it's okay, alhamdulillah, you're not wounded, but next time we are going to look properly when we walk, like that. So you make him feel that it was his mistake. So that whenever you face hardship, look in yourself and fix yourself. This is the Quranic tarbiyah, not the stupid tarbiyah that we give to our children. Wallahi, I see some parents doing things, I feel like I wish these kids were orphans, better than having those parents. The problem of the atheist teacher, that's a horrible problem. I had a kid once learning in the German school in Egypt, and he loved his chemistry teacher. And then he loved chemistry because of that. And then he went to the German teacher and said, are you Christian or Muslim? The teacher said, I believe in science. It was like a knife or a dagger. The boy was stabbed in his heart. Can't I be a Muslim and love science too? So the atheist teacher sometimes is throwing doubts in the hearts of our kids, thinking that he's doing good, thinking that he's getting our kids from the darkness to the light. How can we protect our children from these teachers? By teaching them critical thinking. You don't believe everything said. You always need evidence. So teachers are good. We need to respect them and learn from them whatever they teach only. But if any teacher goes off topic, he is not more knowledgeable than your father. He can be less knowledgeable than this table even. So the kid have to understand that the chemistry teacher, I take from him chemistry and that's it. As soon as he starts speaking about God, creation, whatever, not necessarily that he is right, and the teacher in the class next to you can be saying something completely different or opposite. So critical thinking. But the danger of critical thinking is that it can reach critiquing the Quran. So we need to tell the kids that also, like our sights have a range that it cannot go beyond, and our hearing has a range that it can go beyond certain decibel. After that, you don't hear. Also, your mind has a range that it can go beyond. So whatever is from God, if it proves that it's from God, and we will see now how can we prove that the Quran is from God, then it is right. It has wisdom, even if we don't know what the wisdom is. But whatever is human, it can be critiqued. Okay? There is also a very famous root cause of atheism, which is the scenario of fear in mosques. Many imams keep telling people, if you do so, you go to hell, you go to hell, hell. I've met some people in this country who told me, it's the first time we know that there is Jannah. Rarely when we hear about Jannah, we only hear about punishment of God and torture and hell and fire and burning. That's not good. We need to be balanced. We need to teach our kids that there are three scenarios of relationship with God. The scenario of fear, that I do good and I don't do bad because I fear the punishment of God. The scenario of hope, I do good, I don't do evil because I hope that God enters me to Jannah. And the most important scenario, the best of the three, is the scenario of love. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. Say, if you really love Allah, follow my commands, Allah would love you. Teach the kids to stand up and pray, not to avoid going to hellfire or to go to Jannah. Not only that, definitely they need to wish not to go to hellfire and wish to go to Jannah, but teach them to stand up and pray, to show gratitude to Allah. Tell them that if the heart stops, they are dead. When did our heart start beating? When we are in our mother's wombs, maybe 3 months after we became fetus in the wombs of our mothers. And it keeps beating until now. But we never think about it. We never even worry, who is carrying this? Who is taking care of this for you? Same goes with your kidney, with your brain, with your liver. Doesn't he deserve appreciation? There is al-ightiraru bil-ma'rifah, vanity of people who think themselves knowledgeable. Kids have to understand and learn that ما زال المرء عالما ما طلب العلم. A person is knowledgeable as long as he is seeking knowledge. At the point that he stops seeking knowledge because he feels knowledgeable enough, this is the point of becoming ignorant. Kids have to understand that. Seeking knowledge all the time protects you from vanity, thinking that you are knowledgeable. There is also what you cannot see or hear or touch doesn't exist. Materialistic people, materialistic mind. You have to explain to the kids that the senses are not the best things to tell us how can we realize the existence of things. For example, reason and the brain has authority over the senses. With our senses, we see water in the desert. But the brain tells us, don't believe your eyes. This is called mirage. So the brain and the mind and the reason corrects the senses. It corrects the senses. Same thing. You put a pen and you see it broken from outside the glass like that in the water. It's called refraction. You get the pen out, it's not broken. So the reason tells you it's not broken. So we have to explain this. When I see a mobile, it means that there is a company that made this mobile. Where is this company? I can't see this company. I can't touch this company. The existence of the mobile means that there is a mobile maker. Anything else is polemics, wasting time. Nothing happens by chance. Yes, definitely. A bottle of ink, if it falls on the floor, it can make the shape of a cat by chance. Definitely, it can happen. But it will never write, Dear Fadel Soliman, when you come back home, please call your mother because she called you by chance. Never, never. Kids have to understand that. Have to understand that if someone tells them this, they should even respect him. Don't waste your time with him. All this complexity cannot come except from an intelligent being that is doing it and he knows what he's doing. No computer program can be written except by a computer programmer, not by any person. So how come the DNA, this complicated computer program, did not just come, not from a programmer, did not come from anyone at all? What kind of stupidity is this? The world, with all its variations and numerations and complexity, from the human cell to the planets and galaxies, leaves us speechless. And these are the very words of Immanuel Kant. Not my words, the philosopher. One of the main reasons is, they say Islam contradicts science, especially the evolution. First of all, Islam never contradicted and will never contradict a scientific fact. Second, God said in the Quran, قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ بَدَأَ الْخَلْقِ. Say, journey on earth and find out how the creation started. Therefore, until the end of time, people will try to know how the creation started. Right now, we have two main theories. The first theory is the theory of direct creation of the human being. The second theory is evolution. And maybe a third theory appears later. And maybe a combination of those theories appear later. A fourth theory. What bottom line is, and there is an event about evolution on the 20th of June in Walthamstow. I wish that you attended. If evolution is proven, we don't have a problem because it does not contradict with one ayah in the Quran. I'm telling you, not one ayah in the Quran at all. That's if it's proven. And if it is disproven, it will not be disproven in mosques. It will be disproven in laboratories of universities. So my advice to imams and to don't try to disprove evolution. This is the most acceptable, or maybe the only acceptable theory in all universities now. So no matter how you try to disprove it, you will not disprove it, and you will not look good for the kids who are studying it. Say, if it's proven, it doesn't contradict with the Quran. That's it. And by the way, I know evolutionist Muslims, sheikhs actually, they have ayat from Surah Al-Sajda that show that evolution as a concept is accepted in Islam, but not as a theory. The ayat are the following, 7 and 8 and 9 in Surah Al-Sajda. وَبَدَأَ خَلْقَ الْإِنسَانِ مِنْ طِينٍ. And he started the creation of man from clay. ثُمَّ means then by time. ثُمَّ جَعَلَ نَسْلَهُ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ مَاءٍ مَهِينٍ. He made his procreation come from generations of mating between males and females, from ejaculation. Okay? ثُمَّ, and then he fashioned him and breathed into him his spirit or his soul. We all know that the one who was fashioned and breathed into him, that's Adam. But the stage before Adam is what? Generations coming. And this is the biggest, actually, evidence of evolutionist Muslims that evolution can be proven by the Quran. But I don't see it proven. But I see that it's okay for me if someone says that it is the way Allah created us. As long as he says, La ilaha illallah, there is a creator, and this is the way he created us, I'm okay with that. I will accept him as a Muslim. And science changes, and the theory of evolution can change, and it will change. The theories of Isaac Newton, that he became the most famous and the greatest scientist because of them, all of them changed right now. There is the gender segregation. Oh, gender segregation is a big issue now. And Islam only calls for respecting the etiquette of interaction between men and women. The following rules are not the Islamic rules. These are now the rules of CEOs in Wall Street. After the Me Too campaign, they wanted to avoid being accused of sexual harassment. So now the CEOs of Wall Street are following the following. Never be alone with a female in a closed room. No khulwa. Don't have private dinners with a female, especially when there is a fear of flirtation. اتقاء مواطن الشبهات. Avoid suspicion. Do not sit next to females on a plane or a train. Do not travel on business meetings alone with a female. Avoid any type of potentially problematic interactions with a female. These are not Islamic teachings. These are the rulings that they are following in Wall Street now, CEOs, to avoid allegations. And you can check that on Bloomberg, December 3rd, 2018. That's from their website. That was published. So subhanAllah, Allah created men and women on one planet and told us to deal with each other, but with respect, in order to protect the honor and dignity of both of them. One of the main causes of atheism is hyper-literalism. Taking everything literally. The word is what it is. There is no place for metaphors. And mainly, there is a famous atheist in Canada who also was a very strict Muslim. So this literalism can make you either so strict and extremist or make you an atheist. And he's using this hadith that when the Prophet ﷺ was with Abu Dharr and the sun set, he told him, do you know, Abu Dharr, where the sun goes when it sets? He said, where? He said, only Allah and his messenger know. He said, it goes and prostrates itself under the throne. And he said, now we know that the sun never sets. Wherever it sets, it rises somewhere else. So the hadith is proven wrong. Come on. First of all, sujood, prostration in Arabic means khudu'. It means submission, submitting. Under the throne, what do you think the throne is? A huge chair? The throne of Allah, there's a lot of opinions about it, but among what is said about it is that the throne of Allah is His knowledge or His wisdom. So the sun prostrates and submits and surrenders to the wisdom of Allah, which means that it rises somewhere else. It is following the laws of nature. When did the sun disobey the laws of nature? So this hyper-literalism, some kids leave Islam to come back. And this has to be discovered. Some of them admire the experience of someone like Mustafa Mahmoud in Egypt, the one who became atheist and then searched and then returned back to Islam. So they feel like, okay, some people say so in front of their kids. You know what? When I was in your age, I stopped praying. I nearly did not become Muslim. And then I read, and then I chose to come back to Islam. But it was not an inherited religion. It was out of conviction. He doesn't know that what he did now is that he told his kid, that's a good experience. Don't accept the inherited religion. So within a month, he will see his kid telling him, Baba, I'm an atheist. The boy left to come back. You have to understand here. So it's very important that we deal with him very sensitively so that he can come back. If a boy is like that, the more you tell him, yeah, but this doesn't make you an atheist. It doesn't mean that you're an atheist. He's not going to come back. He has to reach to come back. You understand me? So it needs a lot of wisdom in dealing with these kids, actually. And what we are going to do in the Bridges workshop is that we are going to make the kids walk in a journey and prove to them God his existence, his names, the Barahin al-Nubuwah, the proofs that Prophet Muhammad is a true prophet and that Islam is the right religion. And then we tell them, now you became Muslims out of conviction, not inherited religion. Done. Like that, we bypassed this experience, because if they are dealt with wrongly, it will not be good. That is the last thing that I will speak about today, which is the authenticity of the Quran. Some atheists, I've seen today an atheist in a video saying the Quran is not divine. So what do you want? Leave Islam? Why? Because this book is not divine. Okay. So you think their book was written by a human being? Yes. And you want me to follow who? Atheism? Yes. Why? Because atheism is divine? No, by human beings. So what's the point? Why do you want me to leave what is written by a human being to follow what is written by a human being? At least the Quran, there is a probability that he is divine or by a human being, but yours is definitely 100% by a human being. What's the point? So pragmatically, you can nullify this argument. And then you have to take it back with a logical approach. How can we prove that the Quran is the word of God? There is the probabilities. There's something called the falsification theory. What are the probabilities of the Quran? It can be from who? From God or from, tell me, Prophet Muhammad, or from another human being who said it to Prophet Muhammad, or from Shaitan. These are the four probabilities. If we falsify three, then the fourth is the right one. Can it be from the Shaitan? Will the Shaitan curse himself in every page and warn people from following his footsteps and tell people not to steal or kill or fornicate? Definitely not. It's not very obvious, not from the Shaitan. Maybe it's from another, maybe by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet Muhammad, when he comes, will he intimidate the Arabs whom he spoke to in the beginning with a long surah named after a woman, and she's not even Arab, she's even an Israelite? Come on. Maryam? That's not right. He should have named it Khadija, his wife, or Fatima, his daughter, or Amina, his mother. Who can recite for us a little bit from Surah Khadija? Does anyone know any ayat from Surah Fatima? Does anyone know any ayat from Surah Amina? There isn't. Why? If it was up to the Prophet to name a surah, he would name it after an Arab woman from Quraysh. But no, after a Jewess. Why? Because it is not his own decision. It's not his own handiwork. Besides, people, whenever there's a beautiful piece of poetry or literature, people steal it and put their names on it, not do the opposite. How can the Prophet write something that beautiful, challenging all the poets and all the Arabs and all the speakers, and then he denies that he has anything to do with it? He's just, come on. People do plagiarism, not the opposite. He could have even said, I co-authored it. I did not write except 4 surahs, but Allah sent me 110. He didn't. He didn't completely. That's so strange. People do the opposite, actually. Prophet Muhammad also will not fabricate an ayah that says, Allah from now on protects you from people. And after this ayah came down, he dismissed his bodyguards and he didn't have any bodyguards after that. Why? Because Allah said, Wallahu ya'asimuka minan nas. And then he told the Sahaba who were guarding him, from now on, there's no need for you. Allah said that he is protecting me. Can he fabricate something like that and put his life at risk? And besides, there are, the Quran also cannot be written by any human being, because the Quran foretold future events. Like, غلبت الروم في أدنى الأرض وهم من بعد غلبهم سيغلبون في بضع سنين. Indeed, the Romans were defeated in the lowest of the land, and within a few years, they will be victorious back. That was so... If it was a human being who wrote this, then he's not wise to write that. At that time, the Roman Byzantine dynasty was collapsing and the Persians were taking over all their territories. Egypt fell for 10 years under the Persian occupation. And then he comes and says, they will be victorious back. And then he puts a limitation and says, within a few years. Why did you say within a few years? Just leave it open. And every time people come say, when will the Romans be victorious? He says, the ayah doesn't say. But no, the ayah had put a limitation that within a few years they will be victorious. Imagine someone who says now, the Soviet Union will be back within a few years and it will beat up America. Huh? If someone says that, okay, thank you very much. Call the ambulance for him. No human being can write that. Scientific miracles. And I want to warn you from the exaggeration in scientific miracles. There's a lot of exaggeration right now. There are scientific miracles because they are scientific miracles, and there are scientific miracles because some Muslims are pouring the miracle inside the ayah. That's not right. And we are seeing that right now. It's a lot of videos that are all over the internet. No clash, no clash, no clash. Excuse me, wallah, I watched maybe 20 of them. I have to confess, I didn't even understand any one of them. I didn't understand them. But there are scientific miracles, definitely. So use only the scientific miracles of things that cannot change later, because science changes. For example, when Allah says, بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُسَوِّيَ بَنَانَهُ. Allah is speaking about His ability to return us back to life on Judgment Day, precisely. And He says, definitely, we are able to fashion back in perfect order the very tips of His finger. I believe 1400 years ago, some people wondered, why did Allah choose this part to say that He can fashion us back? Why didn't He choose something more complicated like the blood circle, the vision system? But this doesn't seem complicated at all. Now we all know that this part of our body is so complicated, it is carrying your unique fingerprint. Allah is saying you will be coming back with your fingerprint to be judged. You can't deny that you touched this or you did that. Subhanallah. This is a scientific miracle. I don't need to exaggerate. When Allah says, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. Whoever Allah wants to guide, He opens His chest for Islam, and whoever He wants to misguide, He makes His chest constrain as if He is ascending gradually in the sky. Who could have known this 1400 years ago? That when people ascend gradually in the sky, they will suffer from gradual chest tightness because of the lack of oxygen or because of the drop of pressure. Prophet Muhammad was not an astronaut. No one before him was an astronaut and came and told him. But still, I'm telling you, be careful of the exaggeration in this field. The last thing, it's free speech and apostasy laws in some countries are giving a bad image for Islam. First of all, free speech? No, Islam allows all questions and challenges opponents to debate. But cursing God is not tolerated in Islam. Some people say, it's a human right. So we tell them, and where is God's right? Who said that the human rights are the center? Who said that the human being is the center? The center is God. God has rights. And you can't hurt people like that. If I call anyone son of this or son of that, and I call his mother like a low woman or something, he would get angry. How come I call his God something bad? Cursing God is not tolerated in Islam. But at the same time, killing apostates needs to be understood. Guys, I have never seen any religious decree that have led to apostasy because of its misunderstanding more than killing apostates. People don't understand it. Definitely Al-Shafi'i can do mistakes. Definitely Abu Hanifa can do mistakes. Definitely Ahmed ibn Hanbal can do mistakes. Definitely Imam Malik can do mistakes. But when the four of them agree on something, it is very improbable that they agree on a mistake. The four of them, by the way, said that the apostate should be killed. But I'm telling you, the apostate of Al-Shafi'i is not our apostate today. This is what we do not understand. Abu Hanifa said the apostate should be killed, but not if she's a woman. Why Abu Hanifa? He said because she doesn't fight. Okay, so those people were living in a different time with different political picture than now. At that time, political entities were religious. So there's the dynasty of the Muslims, الدولة الإسلامية. There's the dynasty of the Christians, the Roman Byzantines. The dynasty of the Majus, the Persians. If someone apostates from one religion to the other, it means he is leaving this camp, joining the other camp. And people at that time, all of them were soldiers, actually. They were all men were fighters. Most men were fighters. So if a man leaves a religion, it means he's committing high treason. But today, in this entities of multicultural, multi-religious, multi-faith entity, political entities, someone can leave the religion and join another religion or not join anything and be still in the same country, serving the same country. He is not a threat. He is not a political threat. He is not a military threat. He is not going to expose any military secrets. So Al-Shafi'i and Ahmad and Malik and Abu Hanifa were not wrong. But their apostate is not our apostate today. This is what people have to understand. Jazakumullah khairan, barakallah fikum. The last thing is the ignorance about Allah. I suggest that the names of Allah should be taught to children so that they can get to know who Allah is, His beautiful names, and the names of exaltedness at the same time. The problem is with some names like the Almighty, Al-Jabbar, the Irresistible, Al-Qahhar, the Subduer. Children have to know that I want to live under a strong government. It's good for me because it protects me. So when Allah is Jabbar, when Allah is Qahhar, I feel like there is someone who will be treating Sisi and Bashar. So I want to live under someone strong like that. I just have to be careful not to fall under his punishment too. So there's no problem with these names at all. Because there is also Ar-Rahim and Al-Ghafur and Rahman. No one leaves Islam because of these names. But there are other names that are used by apostates or non-Muslims to attack Islam with. We need to teach our children how we understand these names and why they benefit us as well as all the other beautiful names. Jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu fikum.